Didn't your mom used to say when you and Tommy were kids that she wanted you to be around a bunch of like
artists and poets
and thespians?
Thespians. No, Tommy's the one that added thespians to the whole thing, but it was just artists and poets.
She wanted you to get all cultured or whatever.
Yeah.
And I fucks with some fucking artists though.
Yeah.
Those are some of the most fucking hardcore partying people you will ever fucking meet.
Oh my god.
Like I remember this one guy who was in my women's studies class. There was only like 6 people in the class and he was the only dude. I figured he'd be really interesting because, you know, it's the one dude in a women's studies class where everybody else is female. So me and my friends used to have Whiskey Thursdays. Where we would go over to one of my friend's apartments and just watch trashy TV and just drink whiskey all night.
I used to do that
because, you know, we were responsible adults and made great decisions. But I brought this guy with me, and he's telling us about how he's a yarn artist. Like, have you ever seen, like, yarn bombing?
Yeah,
They'll take yarn and they'll like knit it around like a stop sign or something.
Or a parking meter or something.
Yeah. So he did stuff kind of like that, but just like huge yarn sculptures.
Oh, the cats must have loved that shit.
But he was apparently like a big deal in the soft sculpture world. He had shows in like Europe and crap. But the funny thing was that, like, as he got more and more inebriated, at one point he just jumps up and is like, "Let's do coke!"
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, wow, that's completely out of nowhere. So at a certain point in the night, we noticed that this guy from my class and one of our other friends had disappeared off into the bedroom together. One of our other male friends.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're still just drinking, hanging out. It's kind of a blur at that point because we had all had like multiple shots. But we start hearing these like banging noises.
It's like thwacks.
And like, yeah, and like hard cracks, like something was hitting something over and over again. And then we hear like my friend kind of like yelling like, "Oh!" or something. But, you know, in a more manly voice. If we didn't find out until the next day that what had happened was this guy that I had brought over apparently took like a shelf board. I don't know if he had like actually pulled the shelf off the wall or what.
Oh shit.
But it was like, I saw it too. It was like maybe 3 feet long by, I want to say maybe 8 inches or something. He took this board and was just spanking him with it.
Oh, jeez.
Like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, fuck these Funko Pops. Here, pop. Yeah, throw your collectibles to the wayside while I crack you on the fucking butt cheeks.
You're the Funko Pop now.
Yeah, you're the Funko Pop now. Jeez.
No, but like I asked him the next day, what happened with that guy? It sounded like you guys were really getting down in there. And he said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but something along the lines of, you know, that was the roughest sex I've ever had. And like, funny thing is, I never saw that guy again after that night.
Damn.
Yeah, he just kind of disappeared. He actually stopped coming to class and everything.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, artist, man.
I mean, I've known some, like, wild artists before in my day, you know, whenever I went to OU, I dated an artist, so there was, like, all kinds of just wild parties, weird folks. Yeah, I've seen some shit in my day. But I think, like, we went to go retrieve a sculpture from San Antonio, and we stayed at this dude's house. I mean, it was, like, super fucking hot, like, summer San Antonio, and, this guy had no air conditioning in his house, like, whatsoever. He's just, like, you know, just, like, super skinny, and he's just, like, wearing these cotton shorts.
I don't know how people live like that.
Yeah,
like
his windows are just open. Yeah, he's just like, hi, this is my house, and it's fucking hot outside, but that's how I roll.
My balls are really sticky.
Yeah.
Welcome.
But he let us stay in the only room in the entire fucking house that had an air conditioner. It was just like, oh.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, God. But when we're, you know, moving our stuff in there, he's got it's like the staircase. The staircase has like this collage of like nipples. It's just like a bunch of dudes' nipples just cut out of like magazines.
Okay, I was gonna ask, did you stay at fucking Ed Gein's house?
No,
So
they weren't real
actual
nipples. No, they were just like fucking like magazine nipples. But it was a huge fucking collage, very minute, very detailed.
And they were all men's nipples?
All men's nipples, just fucking, yeah. But I don't know, man. It's just, I think I'm more of a musician than a visual artist. I suck at drawing.
That's okay. I'll do all the drawings for the both of us.
Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx. Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx, Sumo Punx.
I am Sabrina Cuntington of the Buckinghamshire Cuntingtons, heiress to the Cuntington Orphan Harvesting and Distribution Dynasty, with a net worth over $6,900,000 gorillion. Unless the taxman is listening.
And I am Lord Matthias Shittingwood Carkworthy, founder and CEO of Industrial Dildonics, home of the largest refinery of personal lubricants made entirely from baby manatees. And this is Sumo Punx.
Oh!
Won't you throw another orphan on the fire there?
Oh, I do believe we're fresh out of orphans.
Well, that's quite all right. I'll just throw one of the servants on.
Oh.
Oh, my. I've caught a flame.
Oh. Did you hear the news about the Queen?
Ooh. Jesus.
This is too fun. I think we have too much fun with this show. Anyway, and speaking of fun, we got to sit down with those guys from Grand Rapids Sumo Club. In fact, that's what this whole ass episode's about. They're actually having a tournament come up. It's the Beer City Sumo Open, and I'm sure you guys have heard us talk about it before, but we're going to give you the details one more time. That's going to be at City Built Brewing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Saturday, October 1st at noon local time. Clay Dohyo.
Fucking Clay Dohyo.
Fucking Clay Dohyo. If you want to get some experience on a Clay Dohyo, make your way out there.
If you want to build your tolerance or build your technique with avoiding the old slippy otoshi, then this would probably be your chance.
But before we get into our lovely interview with them, we do just want to remind you of some of the other events coming up in the U.S. sumo world. And in fact, we do have an international one on the list this time as well. So after the Beer City Sumo Open, there's the All-American Sumo Classic. This is going to be at the Mr. America Sports Festival in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Saturday, October 8th at noon local time.
I've seen that Andrew Roden and Cornelius Booker are for sure like in this tournament.
In the All-American Sumo Classic?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah! Man,
I hope it gets live streamed. That'll be badass. And then there is a sumo boot camp taught by Richard Neal of the Swiss Sumo Society, Saturday, October the 15th, hosted by the Midwest Martial Arts Group in Davenport, Iowa. This guy's been doing sumo for decades. It's going to be a badass learning experience, and he's just an all-around really cool guy to talk to.
Yeah, you were telling me how when I was in the hospital, he was like messaging you and saying nice things.
And we were just like, bullshitting about sumo. He was telling me all about, actually the next event that's on this list, the Swiss Sumo Open International Tournament, which is on November 5th. Also,
remember.
Also organized by Richard Neal. So I have heard some rumblings of some U.S. competitors that are going to Switzerland to get on that international stage.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
Oh, that's going to be so fucking cool.
Then we have the Houston Sumo Open hosted by Shogeki Sumo Club at the Tokyo Night Festival on November 12th at Lucky Land in Houston, Texas.
And we will have more details about that one coming up. But I just wanted to tell you...
You're going to be at that one, right?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm telling you, Pearson Cooper, I'm coming for you. I want you. I'm gonna be looking for you.
You should do one of those like the pro wrestling.
Oh, those promos. Oh my god, I should make a promo.
Shit talking, snap into a Slim Jim or whatever.
Oh man, I don't know if I could outdo.
Stone Cold said so.
I don't know if I could outdo Trent Sabo's Beans promo.
Oh, yeah.
That was the best one. I don't know. Jared's got some fucking badass off the cuff promos too.
Did you see that Corey had made actual cans of like sumo beans? And
Yes.
he got Trent Sabo to sign them.
Oh my god, that's fucking
and now
awesome.
he's like selling them for like $5 a pop.
I'm
gonna
want
buy one.
I want
I'm
one.
gonna buy one. That shit is ludicrous.
Fuck yes.
And I like it.
All right, so back to the boys in Grand Rapids. This was a couple weeks ago, so Sabrina had her surgery. It was, like about a month ago?
Yeah, it was like right after I got out of the hospital. We had actually planned on releasing this episode a little bit earlier, but, life happens. Through the magic of editing, however, we can make it sound like we just got together with them yesterday, for all you fucking know. And without further ado, here is our interview with Grand Rapids Sumo Club. Hey, look at who we got here. It's Gabe and Micah from Grand Rapids Sumo Club.
That's us.
They're Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's
I wasn't
more
gonna
than one
correct you,
rapid,
but-
right? It's rapids
Yes.
plural.
Mhm.
All right, sorry.
There are like 2 rapids, so
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
there's at least 2. Okay, I got
it is more than one, so it's plural.
think of like river rafting, and then it's not that.
I don't know. As you guys probably already know, I have had quite the adventure lately with surgery and hospitalization.
Yeah,
I
are
just
you
got
okay?
off my antibiotics, so my brain.
Why don't you tell us about that? Are you all right?
Oh man, yeah, I'm fine now. I had to have my gallbladder removed. Every person who actually saw the damn thing after they took it out used the term nasty to describe
Good.
it. So apparently it was pretty fucking bad. And then after that, I had a bunch of like fluid buildup in my abdomen that started pressing against nerves, and I was in a huge amount of pain, and they couldn't really do anything to stop it. But I'm fine now.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Relatively.
They
Yeah.
threw some drugs at her, and she was just like, "These don't fucking work," and just kind of left them alone. So
Yeah, they threw some like muscle relaxer. They gave me 2 CT scans when I went back to the ER after the surgery, and they were like, "We don't know what's wrong with you. Here's some muscle relaxers."
like didn't even do anything. Like
Just American healthcare,
But the morphine they gave me was pretty nice.
Oh, okay.
I liked that.
They gave her some Demerol, like on like the first day that we got there.
I also liked that.
That was hilarious.
But this isn't about me. It's about you guys. How are you guys doing today?
Micah, you want to go
good.
first? Nice.
Yeah, I'm
doing
good.
pretty good.
Cool. Good to hear it.
All right, so Micah, you're out on the road, like in Missouri, and Gabe, are you still in Grand Rapids?
I am still in Grand Rapids, yes.
Is that like on the mitten of Michigan, or is that on like the weird?
It's in the mitten part.
Okay.
So if you want to do the mitten map with me, Grand Rapids is going to be like right over here, sort of
Oh.
area. Think like the crease below your pinky finger. Maybe right about there. So we're about 45 minutes away from the lake shore of Lake Michigan.
Oh, no.
It's about a 3-hour drive from Chicago, about a 2.5 hour drive from Detroit.
Ooh.
Yeah, you mentioned Chicago. I know you guys had gotten together with Matt Shields,
Mhm.
who had started Chicago Sumo Club. Also, someone I want to have on the show sometime soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I wanted
that'd
to
be
talk
cool.
a little bit about how you guys had gotten the club started.
So Micah and I got into sumo completely independently of one another, despite both living in Grand Rapids. I got into it like 2015 and started competing. And then Micah, you were running Grand Sumo International. Still does, by the way.
Yeah.
Great blog.
Oh,
Yeah, my sister. Where do I start with this? My the DJ for my sister's wedding is a guy named Ace, and he runs, or he like headed up the local Asian festival, and so my sister and my brother-in-law were friends with him, and I think my sister saw a post from him about bringing real sumo to Grand Rapids. And I was like, what? What's that all about? And I had been a fan of sumo for many years before that. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I got in touch with him, and I was like, I found out that it was like Yama and Biamba and all them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's legit. And so I asked him, like, is there any way I can like be involved in that? And he's like, well, you can sponsor it and you can ride around with them in the bus and interact with them a little bit. And I was like, okay, cool. So I threw him a little bit of money and got to talk with them throughout the day. And yeah, it was really cool.
Oh,
I was kind of starstruck. So, yeah.
I would have been too.
And then I asked, I was kind of like, at the time I was apprehensive about putting on a Mawashi and all that, but I had been a judo player for a while, so I was kind of like, I was open to like being involved in the amateur side of things. So I asked Andrew, I was like, so what does it take to be like a referee or something like that? He's like, well, most of the people that are referees are, have been competitors in the past. I was like, okay. And I noticed there's this guy from Grand Rapids that competed, and he's like, yeah, I can introduce you later. Well, so yeah, that's how I met Gabe after the show they did.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then when I was at the US Open that year, that was when I found out about the event in Grand Rapids that USA Sumo was doing. And so I talked to Andrew while I was at the Open, and I was like, I live in Grand Rapids, right? So he invited me out. I got to wrestle Takeshi, Biamba, and Yama in front of a couple different crowds.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
So yeah, it was a good time. And then like Micah said, Andrew introduced the two of us. And so we started Grand Rapids Sumo Club. That would have been 2018, right? Like September, October?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Oh, so you guys have been at it for some years now. That's awesome.
A few years, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then the club itself was really blown up in the last couple of years. I talked about this a little bit on Grand Sumo Breakdown. We'll have people who like message the club, or they come on out and they really have no idea what they're in for, and so they get thrown a couple times, and then we just never hear from them again.
Oh yeah. We've had a couple of those.
Yeah, so we had a couple people kind of come and go, but nobody really stuck. And then we got Will about a year ago, and Will really stuck, and Will brought a couple more people in. And then we got in contact with Eli, who was also at the tournament, and then Nate works out at the boxing gym that we train at. So we kind of roped him in, and we've got a pretty solid core of about half a dozen people now, and then a couple more people who are on the fringes who are interested but haven't really gotten into it yet. We got Casey and Dan, who have both been a little bit out with injuries, but they're both still definitely in the club, still part of it all. And yeah, I mean, it really just kind of took off in the past year. It's one of those exponential things where once you get one person really roped in, then they start to bring in more people. And it just
builds momentum.
Yeah, just goes on from there.
So when you
And
guys
then I'm
first
just the
started
deadbeat
out-
co-founder.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
he's not the deadbeat, don't worry.
Well, but when you guys first started out, it was just the two of you. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
For
Yeah, it was
a while at least. Was it weird practicing just with each other? Because you were practicing in a park, right?
Yeah. So when we started out, we were practicing in a park. We still practice in that same park sometimes. That was actually also one of the venues that we were looking at for the art prize competition. But yeah, I mean, it was just two dudes in a park. We didn't have any kind of tawara or dohyo or anything like that. One of the mawashis we started off with was homemade.
Oh wow.
Hell yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, we've been training together for 4 or 5 years now.
That is so fucking
Pretty close.
It was pretty cool because I had a judo black belt at the time, and Gabe has his background in wrestling, and so we kind of brought together those two styles and kind of learned a little bit from each other. Mostly me from him, because I think the wrestling really translates a little bit better than the judo, but there's still the stuff you do with the legs, the leg type throws in judo that really translates well. And if you're used to that kind of thing, then you can catch people with trips and things like that. So
Yeah, footwork, I gotta work on mine. I still feel like I'm just kind of stomping around like a fucking like
a Godzilla.
I feel like more like a puppy. When puppies get to that certain age when they just have those long
They're all
spin.
They just kind of like throw their legs down. And...
I have a puppy style right now. I'm trying to get out of that.
Okay, I respect it.
One thing Mark was saying out of Orlando, he was saying they do these power steps in football, and so I've been it's not really the classical sliding your feet type footwork, but it really works for him. So you might have to talk to him about that. He's the heavyweight out of
Oh hell
or
yeah!
he's one of the heavyweights out of Orlando.
So
I saw him, the ginger gorilla.
Yeah, yeah, super strong dude.
Oh man, yeah. If we did commentary for the Iron Belly.
Iron Belly, yeah. Iron Belly 2.
Yeah. Oh man, that was fucking fun. But yeah, we saw Mark Jones. Fucking, he's just this. He's a beast. Like I like.
Yeah.
Part of me really wants to fight him, and I really want to fight that Jordan kid too, because those kids, those dudes are just like fucking. They're beasts. I mean,
Yeah,
I know I'm gonna get my ass thrown around, but whatever. I still want to fight him.
Well, that's how you get better.
Last winter when I went down there to train, we started sparring, and I caught him once with an ashitori and like a leg takedown, and then one time he wanted to do a drill where like I got him from behind and just got him like a really bad position, basically the worst position you can get in. He's like, okay, so let's just do this. And so I got his muashi, it had a tight grip and everything. And he's like, okay, go. And then like, I couldn't do anything. He basically just like spun around in a split second and like just slapped me down or whatever. and so that dude, I don't see myself winning any open weight competition that he's in.
Open weight, it's tough as a lightweight. You just gotta be faster and lower and not get grabbed at all or touched. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I squandered my one chance to get his leg, so it's not going to happen again.
I fought a couple of lightweights. I fought Brandon McLeod from Ronin Sumo, and then like Justin Jones, JJ from Hono Sumo. Those guys, they both of them fucking threw my 400-pound ass. Like seriously, both of them did. Sakue Nage both times, I think. I just got to work on staying low, so I'm harder to uproot. I need to be a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, whatever you guys were doing, practice in the park and stuff like that, did you guys ever get like anyone like that was interested, or did you get hecklers?
A lot of gawkers or anything?
Not that many, actually. Most people just kind of kept on walking, honestly.
Or anybody who saw you and were like, hey, what are you guys doing? I want to try it out.
Not too many. We had like people, they'd stop by and like ask some questions and stuff like that, but nobody who really like saw us training. That was their first introduction to us, and then they like came and joined the club. Like we haven't really had too much of that outside of Nate, but the owner of the boxing gym that we train in kind of pushed him into us too. So
So you guys are the founders of the Grand Rapids Sumo Club. Would you consider yourselves like the head coaches or oyakatas, or do you have a more like non-hierarchical kind of structure where everybody just kind of helps teach everybody? How does that work in your club?
Definitely more of a non-hierarchical. I don't think too many American clubs really run as like I'm the senior and you're the junior, and like that's just how it is.
That's what I've noticed too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean we're definitely pretty laid back. We train hard, but we don't. It's not like one of us is out here punishing people for doing things wrong or making mistakes or anything like that. Or that like we consider ourselves like above anybody else in the club.
And has there been any sort of like techniques or skills that other members who've come on recently have been able to share with the rest of the club that you think has like really kind of upped the game for everybody?
I mean, everybody in the club comes from a different background. So as far as like, one particular top secret move, we don't have one. Even if we did, I probably wouldn't share it because,
Yeah, we do.
But which one is it? Is it by Kupanage?
Well, that's definitely your specialty, your Toku Iwaza, as they say. But no, the
Oh, we lost. Oh no, he hung up.
No, it's okay. It is. Yeah.
Oh no!
I do that all the time with my buds.
What? Hey, there he is. He's back.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have gotten hacked. I was about to say something that I shouldn't.
That was Gabe.
No, you were about to give away the top secret technique, and then just click.
I got off real quick, or whacked.
Well, speaking of tournaments, guys, you have your own tournament coming up soon.
We do.
Yeah, the what was it called? Beer City. I just looked at
Beer
it.
City
Damn
Sumo.
it.
Beer City Sumo Open. Yep.
That's right, and that's there in Grand Rapids at the
Hmm.
Art Prize Festival.
Correct.
See, when I heard you mention Art Prize on Grand Sumo Breakdown, I was very confused because I was like, wait a minute, does the winner of this tournament like get a prize that's art? That's
So, like,
cool.
what piece of art do they win?
So, Art Prize is a huge international art competition that Grand Rapids hosts. It's actually the single largest open art competition in the world. For a city of like 250,000 people, we get like 50,000 art pieces, and 500,000 tourists in the course of 3 weeks. It's like 19 days. It's insane. I work in the restaurant industry as like a bartender and all that. Um, Last Art Prize, I worked 47-hour weekends just because of Art Prize.
47-hour weekends?
Weekends.
Oh.
Yeah, my schedule for Art Prize,
I don't even think there's that many hours in a weekend.
pretty close. So my schedule for Art Prize last year was all bartending, in at 5:30 p.m. on Friday, out at 5 a.m. on Saturday, back in at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, out at 5 a.m. Sunday, back in at 10:30 a.m. Sunday, out at midnight on Sunday night.
Whoa.
And at the end, he had like a wad this thick of like, I assume it was ones, but still.
I mean, no, I made like $2,000 a weekend, but yeah, I did 47 hours on like 4 hours of sleep, basically like 3 times in a row. The middle Saturday of Art Prize, actually, I did not sit down once in 18 and a half hours.
I would
I
die.
figured that out. I
would
literally
just
I
fall
stood
over
up out
dead.
of my car, and then like 19 hours later, I sat back down in my car. Because like at some point I was like I was getting ready to do like my cash out at the end of the night, and I went to go sit down in the chair, and I was just like, if I sit down, I'm not getting back up. I just stood back up and walked away. I was like, I can't. We're almost there. We'll just do it. It's fine. But yeah, so Art Prize it's wild. It's insane. There's all kinds of cool art from people all across the world. And so this has been something that I've been planning for 3 or 4 years now, pretty much since the club started. Just trying to get this put together, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that I have put a tape measure to like every single Art Prize site in the entire city of Grand Rapids that might be able to host a dojo.
And you're
Uh,
building an actual like clay dojo, right?
yes. So the clay dojo is the art piece that I submitted for Art Prize. And then we're going to hold the tournament and all of our practices on the dojo.
I had been on your Instagram account, and I had seen that the first post you had ever made
Mhm.
was it looked like a clay dojo, but like shorter,
Yeah.
and the sides were like made out of wood or something.
Yeah. So
Now, that wasn't
that's not
yours. That was somebody else's, right?
correct. But
Is
that's
that what you're modeling yours after?
yes. So
Okay.
that's the general idea of what I'm building here. The plan right now, City Built Brewing is the venue that's hosting us, because the way that Art Prize works is you have artists and you have venues. And venues are basically any business or public space in the approved area of Art Prize that wants to host art. And then artists are obviously people who have art pieces or projects or whatever that they want to do. And so those two connect, and Art Prize kind of facilitates the connection, but then everything else is on those two. So I think I reached out to like 40 or 50 different venues and organizations this Art Prize.
Oh wow.
And City Built Brewing got back to me, and they loved the idea. And they're a brewing company in Grand Rapids, which the whole Beer City thing, by the way, is not a joke. Grand Rapids is Beer City, USA officially. We took the title from Milwaukee. We
Nice.
have like
Yeah,
what
we
is it
used to
like?
be Furniture City, but that didn't really bring anybody in. So yeah,
Yeah, Grand Rapids has gone through a couple of different industrial revolutions in its time, but it's been a little bit weird with COVID, obviously, but under normal circumstances, we have around 80 breweries in the city limits alone.
Damn.
And a lot of them are like more microbreweries, they don't distribute that much, but still for, a city that's again like 250,000 people, it's pretty substantial. A lot of the larger distributors do distribute across the country. Bell's Brewing is in the Grand Rapids area. Shorts Brewery is in the greater Michigan area. Founders is like literally 2 blocks away from where I work.
That's my mom's favorite.
Yeah, no, like the original Founders location is like literally I could walk outside and hit a golf ball and hit it basically.
Oh, shit.
Nice. Well, I wanted to ask you guys too. Do you have any local breweries or like specific beers that you want to give a shout out to? Like, what are some of your favorites?
Actually, let's give a shout out to Tres Gatos Brewing, as Micah calls it, a trace amount of gato. So they actually found out about us through the tournament that we hosted at JFAX about 2 or 3 months ago now. And apparently they are also just big sumo fans independently. They have what they call, is it Sumo Sundays or Sumo Tuesdays? Do you remember?
I thought it was Saturday.
Might be
I haven't
Saturday.
been yet, so yeah.
So they have a day where they just put sumo up on the TV, and they're big sumo fans. So they found out about us and our tournament. We went and had a couple beers and put our tournament up on their TV and did film breakdown like just in the bar. So that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, dude.
So big shout out to Tres Gatos, and then obviously big shout out to City Built Brewing, which is where we're hosting the tournament itself. It's a little bit north of downtown in Grand Rapids, and they have a 30 by 60 foot tent directly across the street from the brewery itself. And then they have like a little like sliding window, think like on a food truck, where they serve like beer and food out of that. And then they also have like a pretty nice tap room like inside as well, but for like outdoor purposes. So especially during our prize, they're just going to be like serving beer to people on the sidewalk. And then Grand Rapids has like open drink zones, where if you have like a cup that has a sticker on it from a particular bar, brewery, or whatever, you can just walk with that and just open drink like no problem. So they're part of that, I believe. But yeah, so the dohyo is going to be right under the center of a 30 by 60 tent, right across the street from the brewery. And no, it should be a great tournament. We're hoping that compete on a clay dohyo is going to be a big draw for people. So we're trying to invite as many people as we can. Speaking of which, hopefully by the time this episode is out, I will have an athlete path get posted for that tournament. I just made a flyer, so we're gonna post that all around, Grand Rapids and send that out to everybody. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, just send us the link and we'll post it in the description of this episode.
Awesome.
I got to ask Micah, because he's been just kind of sitting there kind of quiet for a minute. Did you have any specific beers that you wanted to shout out, or breweries
yeah,
that haven't already been named?
Miller Lite.
Traitor.
I got a Charlie horse. I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh no. Man down.
Stretch it.
You all right?
Man down.
He had a pretty hard kick.
You made him laugh too hard, Michael. What are you doing?
Okay, so yeah, Perrin Brewing. It's up in it's a little bit north of the city center, and that's a pretty cool atmosphere. I feel like they got some pretty good dark beers there. I feel like so.
Perrin Black is very good.
Very good.
New Holland also is in the sort of greater Grand Rapids area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if you've heard of New Holland, it's like a 30-minute drive away from here. Yeah, so another big draw, aside from being Beer City USA, is that we will be hosting live training throughout the entirety of our prize. So the dohyo is going up approximately September 12th through 14th. Our prize starts on the 15th and then runs through October 2nd. So we're going to have 2.5 weeks of live training for anybody who wants to come out at any time. Literally, just come use it. We don't even have to be there. Just do it. It's fine. But we're gonna sort of the thing that we talked about within the club is that we're aiming for every day, understanding that that's probably not going to happen because a lot of us have jobs that get much busier with our prize. But yeah, we're probably going to aim for, especially weekends, and probably at least 3 or 4 times a week, just training on the clay.
Just as much sumo as possible.
Yeah, that's the whole idea here. Because anytime you talk to anybody who's been to Worlds, all they talk about is how slippery and how different the clay dohyo is.
Yes.
So that's another thing that we're hoping is a big draw, is that we just say, come train on clay, come get 1,000 matches in on clay, and just come do it. And that's kind of the goal for the tournament as well. So we have 2 days of competition. The plan right now is to do Saturday starting around 1 p.m. Have our, men's and women's light, middle, light heavy, and then heavyweight brackets. And then on later in that day have open weight and kind of have that be kind of like a standard tournament is. And then on that Sunday we have a novice tournament for, people who have only done 1 or 2 tournaments, or, we don't have a hard definition for that, but you get the idea. And then we also have a modified team competition, kind of similar to a lot of the team competitions that have been done, where you have 2 or 3 people on a team, and then they go up against another team, and then the next person advances, and so on.
Yeah, that's something I'm actually not too familiar with. Is like, how does a sumo teams competition really work?
The way that I've seen it done in the past is 2 or 3. If you have 3, then just whichever team wins at least 2 moves on. And basically one team has to present their wrestler first, and then the other team gets to answer. So you can kind of, strategize that way. And then if you have 2 wrestlers and everybody fights, so you have 2 matches between your 2 teams of 2 wrestlers. And if it ends 1-1, then you have a third match where each team picks their person who's going to go up and compete.
I got you.
So we're still playing around. It'll depend on how many people show up, whether we do teams of 2 or teams of 3, for the most part. But again, we want people to come out and just get matches, get reps. We're gonna have some medals and some hardware. So it should be a good time.
So this is going to be the second tournament that you've had this year. Right?
Correct.
So did you plan it out that way, or are you guys going to try to be like Grand Sumo and just have a tournament like every couple of months now? Or
That'd be nice.
How did that end up working out? Did you mean to have 2 tournaments like within a few months of each other?
So, Micah, was it 2018 or 2019 that we did JFAX the first time?
Must have been, I think it was 2019.
I think 2019, right?
I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a convention in Grand Rapids called JFAX. It's basically like a Japanese Comic-Con, but smaller because it's not a huge city or anything. Good convention though. A lot of cool stuff going on there. And a couple years ago, they invited us out and we did a demo. And then this year, now that we have some more club members, we wanted to do something that was as close to like a real national level tournament as we could accomplish. Because again, with a lot of new people, we wanted to kind of, get them into the swing of things and get them. I think I likened it to kind of like an inter squad scrimmage that like football teams will do, where you have everybody comes out, you all get dressed, you all get warmed up, and you kind of treat it like a real game. But it was still mostly inter-club. But we still sent the invite out, and that's how we got Matt Shields out of Chicago.
Oh, hell yeah!
Because Matt Shields has been a sumo fan for some time, and then he found out about our tournament. Bought him a washi, showed up, never done it before, never trained, nothing like that.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah, no, and we love that, and we had I think 7 people total. So we did a double round robin, so it was I think 42 matches, and we ran through that bracket pretty much in an hour over the course of the weekend, because we also did training on Friday and Saturday, and then the tournament on Sunday, kind of similar to what we're doing with our prize, but only 3 days instead of 19.
Yeah.
We got a couple thousand people to come out and watch us over the course of all that. Because we were in the main atrium of the venue there, so it's this huge 100-foot ceiling made entirely out of glass.
Yeah, I was actually watching the video from that recently. One of the things that I noticed actually was, Gabe, you had gone traditional for that tournament, and Micah, I don't think you did. Meaning, you had worn your mawashi in the traditional style where there's nothing underneath it. Is that true, Micah, that you had not done that at the last tournament? And were you guys planning on doing it for this upcoming one?
Yeah, well, Gabe usually does that for the tournaments. I have not done that before. I did. I think it was a recent match between Enho and Daishoho, which is always fun. And I wanted my sister to watch it, but she's kind of squeamish about the butts and everything. So I was like, if you don't watch this, I'm gonna go buns out at the next tournament. And she still didn't watch it, but I still didn't want to go buns out at the next tournament because
It's a controversial issue, I know.
yeah, it just doesn't look it doesn't look comfortable. I like to be comfortable. I don't like pain. So I
don't like
So
pain.
that's why
I do judo and sumo.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I joke with people all the time about the number of times that I've broken my fingers doing this sport. But yeah, as far as traditional versus compression shorts, it's just personal preference and comfort.
Yeah.
I usually practice with compression shorts and then I compete traditional. I used to compete with compression shorts, but then after a couple tournaments I noticed that like all the people on the podium were all bare ass. So I was kind of looking at it, I was like, all right, well, that must be the secret. And went bare ass my first tournament. I think that was the Georgia Sumo Open in 2018 or 2017. And I took fourth place, got a medal, and I've just gone bare ass at tournaments ever since.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
I'm kind of superstitious like that too. Like the first judo tournament I watched way before I started judo, I forgot the names. It's a big name too. Kenji somebody. Anyway, the mostly shaved head won the tournament, and like the runners up were, oh, we got it. Readjusting my earbuds again. But the runners up each level down, like second place had a little bit more hair, third place had a little bit more hair. So anyway, I was like, oh, that must mean that you're less top heavy, so you win the you win the judo
trying
tournament.
To say something to me over here? What?
Oh no, as far as judo went, so that's why I shaved my head. No, it's not because I'm like totally going bald on top, but anyway.
So, Gabe, you had mentioned on your Grand Sumo Breakdown interview that you were planning on reaching out to some of the local colleges for volunteers to help you with the upcoming tournament. When do you think we will see collegiate sumo become a thing in the U.S.?
I mean, there's nothing stopping any college from starting a sumo club. Back when I was in college at Grand Valley, I actually talked to the club sports coordinator once about starting a sumo club. And he was all about the idea. He loved, the idea of having a sumo club at Grand Valley, which is also my alma mater and mainly the college that I was reaching out to. His only concern was that I was already a senior, and so he was like if you can't start a club and get it going and have like young blood in there to carry on after you graduate, like then we're just sinking money into this for nothing, Yeah. So that was his only concern. But aside from that, he was definitely about the idea. As far as like NCAA sumo, that's
they're more football.
Yeah, there would have to be sumo at several dozen D1 universities in order for that to happen. For there to be like I said, there's nothing stopping any college right now from starting a sumo club of people who go and compete in open tournaments and stuff like that, like the rest of us do. I don't really foresee like a collegiate sumo organization specifically, at least anytime in the near future. But I mean, start clubs at your local colleges and we'll just build it and see what happens, And kind of branching off that, one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm reaching out to Grand Valley to try and get out student volunteers. And I think I actually might have emailed the right person because I sent out an email to director heads of like sports management, exercise science, physical education, the Japanese department, kind of like most of the relevant departments, asking if they had any student volunteers interested. And one of the guys emailed me back and said, we have over 250 majors at Grand Valley, and I will send this out to all of them. And I was like, maybe a little overzealous, but I'll take it. We like it. So yeah, our goal is to get like about a dozen volunteers out, get them trained up. And one of the things that I wanted to do was have volunteers actually serve as judges, because one of the things that I see a lot of tournaments, and I've even seen this at like nationals, is the judges end up being just random wrestlers in the tournament, and then they're like they need to go like warm up for their match, but they're like judging someone else's match at that time. And they go, hey man, could you take over my seat? And then somebody's like, oh no man, I'm warming up for my match, I'm sorry, I can't. And then they just kind of walk away. And I've seen matches at the national tournament that only have like two judges on the same side of the dohyo, because it's you just don't have like dedicated judges, which is difficult because you're talking about to have dedicated judges and Gyoji. I think the worlds had like 2 crews of 6, I want to say, and they would trade off basically between brackets. And then they would, within
Yeah,
their
I
crew, they
noticed
would,
that. It was something I had never seen before. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So within their crew, they would also like trade off, who's the Gyoji and who are the judges. But you're talking about 12 people to serve dedicated roles as Gyojis and judges minimum, and they probably had another couple people on deck. So I'd imagine they have 14 or 15 people, and we don't see that at other tournaments. When was the last time you went to a tournament and you had 4 dedicated judges and 1 dedicated Gyoji?
Yeah.
True.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things that we're looking at, and then also just many hands make light work. I forget what Jake said when I did the interview with Grand Sumo Breakdown, but he said something about just like having warm bodies helps.
Yeah.
Because you just like if you need a task done, you just say, "Hey, person, go do this, please," and then like you don't have to worry about it. Like it's just being done by someone.
Exactly.
Whether that's writing things down, making sure that the Wi-Fi is hooked up, making sure that X and Y and Z. So any number of volunteers is extremely helpful in general.
And I'm
And
sure it's a good experience for them too,
yeah,
and it helps more people get into sumo.
oh yeah,
All right, Micah, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, college sucks because it's too expensive for what you get, and
It is.
and it doesn't have sumo in America, so it's not worth it. So I would not go back. But well, actually, I was going to go back, but I was going to go to Japan. That's a whole story. But anyway, yeah, you guys should definitely talk to Matt Shields, the guy that came out to our tournament. He started Chicago Sumo Club, because he just came out, and I was like, after the tournament, after we had all fought like 47 matches or whatever, I was like, hey, so you're gonna start a club out in Chicago? And he's like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of work. Like literally as soon as he must have gotten home, like 3 hours later, there's
if that.
Chicago Sumo Club is up. I'm just like, okay, cool.
It was that drive home just got him the bug.
Yeah,
Once you have time to think about it.
And he's definitely going, putting himself out there and putting out the sport, just setting up a dojo and at random events, and that's really how you got to do it. Like me and Gabe, we were busy. We were just basically trying to figure out how to fit sumo into each of our schedules for the first few years, and then we slowly started to prioritize it, and and then all of a sudden I get this job because it's something I can actually like handle without my soul being crushed. But I absolutely love this job. But
I'm an insurance agent, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, I
feel like I'm this close
loved
to
making
quitting every day.
I loved making sushi, and that would have lined my schedule up a lot better with a lot of the other guys who work in restaurants. But at the end of the day, it's just like you gotta really like the people you work next to every single day who are shouting in your ear, and anyway. But yeah, all that random stuff to say.
So
I don't know what the point was there.
Oh, so do you ever like coming from like a judo background? Do you ever like sometimes you're like doing like practice bouts or whatever? You're like, man, I think blah 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 from judo would probably be really good at this. Or are you ever trying to bring any buddies from other martial arts like into sumo?
Yeah, not too much. Like once COVID started, judo kind of completely shut down, and then after that, it just didn't work out with my schedule and finances and everything. So I just kind of focused on sumo for that time period and henceforth. So I'd love to go back, but I just somehow got to fit it in. But a few of the guys that actually go to that same club that didn't go there when I was going, like Eli, he's going there now. And Eli, I think, turned Walter onto it. And I don't know if Walter's gone to many practices, but he's definitely got the build for it.
We have yet to see Walter pass the first practice that he came to. Walter, it was the referee for our tournament actually.
Oh hell yeah!
Because he came through to the tournament, he said he didn't want to compete, but he's just there to watch. And I was like, "You want to ref? It's not that hard."
Yeah.
And he did a pretty good job, especially because we didn't have judges and it was his first time. But yeah, we're still trying to rope Walter into it. He's a very busy man. He's got a lot going on. But we're just trying to, like Michael said, just get him the bug and kind of reel him in. We got a couple of people like that too. I kind of talked earlier about like some people on the fringes. And I don't want to like name drop and scare them off, but we got some people that we're trying to rope in still.
Oh no, I just remembered you mentioned like some giant corn-fed dude with this like farm boy strength or something like that on GSB.
Oh yeah, that's Nate. He took third at our tournament, right, Micah? So it was me, you, and then Nate, right?
Yeah.
No, Nate is stupid strong, and we're real happy to have him. Because the heaviest person that we've had in the club, I mean, for a long time was just somewhere between me and Micah, because it was just the two of us lightweights. And then we had Will, and Will's somewhere around like the cusp of middleweight and light heavy. So again, not like huge by sumo standards or anything. But yeah, Nate's real big, real strong, and because he just fights lightweights all day, he's getting like quick.
Ooh, that's deadly.
So yeah, we got high hopes for Nate.
Hell yeah.
Looking for trying to get him out to tournaments and stuff like that.
That'd be badass. We want you guys to come to Texas tournaments.
Yeah. Well, I do have just a few more questions for you guys.
Yeah, sure thing.
Go ahead and start wrapping up here. You had mentioned on your Grand Sumo Breakdown interview that collegiate wrestling had this very kind of toxic environment from your experience, and that Grand Rapids Sumo Club makes it a point to avoid being rude or being quote unquote dicks to each other. And I thought that was really cool because in my experience, the US sumo scene in general, and I'm sure like, the international amateur sumo scene in general, are just really fucking cool. Everybody is always helping each other out. Everybody's super nice, super compassionate and warm and inviting. Have you had similar experiences? It seems like that's kind of the vibe that you're trying to go for with your sumo club.
I definitely have. Sumo, it's a small community, so it ends up being very close knit. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people who just genuinely love the sport and want to see it grow. Yeah, I mean, internationally, it's a little bit of just a step above that in terms of competitiveness, obviously. So it's kind of funny though, because once you get like out of the competition, like everybody, it's the same thing. Like a lot of people. I don't want to say a lot of people, but I've heard some people say things about like the Ukrainians being assholes, like at competitions and stuff like that. They're just focused on the competition, but like afterwards, like you just go talk to them and like they're super chill and laid back. So I don't, it's the same thing, really.
Yeah. I've noticed everyone just kind of competes differently. Like I've only done one tournament so far, and so I was just like super excited the whole time. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm at a tournament, So, but I did notice Angel De La Torre like had his headphones on and he was like really focusing. He was like, just kind of on the sidelines. And I started noticing, and then like a couple of the Egyptian guys, they kind of had like their own like they're getting into the mode, getting into the. And I haven't quite developed anything like that. I'm just still stoked about it. I'm just like, yeah, I get to go get tossed around. Fuck yeah,
You really are just like a giant puppy or something.
Well, I've been in the traditional martial arts, quote unquote traditional martial arts for a long time. Maybe not most of my life, but a long time. So I was a young teenager, and I feel like when it comes to the competitive kind of like Eastern style martial arts, you get a really good balance of people. Like they're, and in the less competitive side, you get kind of a lot of weirdos, a lot of people who say they can do some things and don't, they'll never really test out if they can or not. And a lot of people, kind of like just kind of weird people that are not real socially adjusted, I guess. And I'm one to talk,
Definitely.
but
I know exactly the kind of people you're talking about. Yeah.
and then what Gabe said about it's just kind of it's all just wrestling. When you're in wrestling, it's not about the people, it's about the wrestling. And so those two things come together, you get some pretty cool folks, like weird folks, but pretty cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I feel about judo and sumo especially. So.
I'm very much of the opinion that you kind of have to be a little bit weird to get into sumo.
Yeah.
So that's why we
Yeah.
get such an interesting mix of people in the community.
One of the things I like to do is make it a point to reach out to the weebs because I think that's a very untapped demographic. Any of the anime and manga nerds out there are going to be probably more receptive to getting into sumo than even some of your regular like sportsy jock type
Mhm.
dudes, you know. So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
I mean, I was never into like I guess I've watched a bunch of anime, but I was never like a super fan of any of it. But I have always been a fan of Japanese culture since I was a kid, and like the samurai thing, and so that I always wanted to do the Japanese martial arts, and so I got into judo, but it was after I even started being a sumo fan. I was like I had seen Asa Shoryu on YouTube like a bunch, and I was like, this guy's crazy, and I like it. So, so I started watching that, and then yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, you're good. Okay, now
That's fine.
that brings me. Who are your like favorite Ricochet of the moment?
Yes, both of you. We want to hear from both of you. Who are your favorite Rikishi?
uh,
Go for it.
I can't talk about the moment until I talk about Kisano Sato. Um, you know, he's the best. He's the greatest of all time. Gabe will disagree. Everyone else will disagree. um, Emotionally, yes, he's the greatest of all time. And then right now, I really like Mitake. He's my favorite. He's just got a real textbook style of fighting. I feel like, and he gets that Hazuoshi. He can't get out of it. So
This is a bit of an inside joke. I apologize.
No.
yeah, I like myself. I feel more comfortable with getting a hold of something, and I like the Moashi, but I don't know. For some reason, all my favorites are pusher thrusters. I really
Same.
like Daisho and Chiyonokuni and all that. But yeah,
Abi.
anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, Abi, he's all right. He's
love
interesting
Abi.
for me. I'm not an Abi fan necessarily, but he's interesting, and he'll be Ozeki before we know it.
Yeah, sometimes I feel kind of guilty for liking Abi so much just because I don't know, we don't have to go into that.
Yeah.
But
I have the same feelings. I love Abby, but I'm like, oh, Abby.
what about you, Gabe? Who are some of your favorite Rikishi?
I'm very biased towards the lighter guys. Sorry, not sorry. It was Takana Yama was one of the first ones that got me into sumo.
Oh, hell yeah.
For those of you who don't know, that was the Czech sumo wrestler who was like 212 pounds.
Very muscular.
He was like Enho's weight, but like 6'1" or 6'2". He's fairly tall guy for that weight at sumo. Love Takana Yama. Enho fan, definitely. Midori Fuji fan, definitely.
Hell yeah.
Terutsuyoshi fan, definitely. I'm really liking right now sort of the three-way rivalry of Kiribayama, Hoshoryu, and Wakataka Kage.
Yes.
I love that they're kind of all coming up together a little bit, and they all have more similar body types because I think Kiribayama is the heaviest, and he's like right at 300 just about. So yeah, big fans of all them. Although I also really like Ichinojo.
Oh,
I've liked Ichinojo for some time now, not even just because of his recent tournament win, but
Oh yeah,
just
that's
because.
convenient. Okay.
Well, yeah, No, I think I started to like Ichinojo back when he was about 500 pounds, and he took runner up. What was that, 3-4 years ago now?
it was,
When he had his junior show and didn't get to fight Hakuho.
that was 2018?
I think 2018, yeah, because he was like 13-2 or 14-1 on that tournament, and like the only other person who could win the U show was Hakuho, and like Ichinojo just never got matched up against Hakuho because he was down to like Maegashira 9 or something, I want to say, and so like they just never pulled him up for that match, and they should have, which I don't necessarily think that Ichinojo would have won, but he certainly could have.
Yeah.
But give the guy a shot. He's already 12-2 or something after 15 or 14 days. Just give it to him, see what happens.
He's one of my favorites, like absolutely. Like when I first started sumo, like I was built like my dimensions were almost his, like 6'4", like 400. Like when I first started sumo, I was like, oh, what was I? was I still over 500 pounds? I can't remember.
You were somewhere around there.
Yeah, I got down to 386, but whenever she got her surgery stuff, I was power eating. I was eating my feelings. Ate a whole pizza by myself.
Understandable.
But I got back up to 402, but I'm gonna get back down again. Damn it.
All right, gotcha. Yeah, Ichinojo, I think he just has a sumo, especially at the highest levels in professional sumo. It's very forward all the time. No matter what, just keep scrambling. And Ichinojo has a much more patient style a lot of the time. Where he'll get somebody, he knows he's got the grip, and he'll just wait for you to overextend because he knows that you have to just to try and move his 450 or 500-pound frame, and then he just slaps you down. Yeah. That was how he won like half of his matches in that tournament where he took runner up. Was he would just wait for somebody to try and push him, and then he would just bop. But he knew exactly what his strengths and advantages were and what his disadvantages were, and he just played around that, which is on paper sounds very, very, very simple, but in practice it's very difficult to do in sumo because of how fast everything moves. It's very easy to just kind of forget about somewhere where your opponent has an advantage for half a second, and that's all it takes, and then you're nosediving.
It's difficult for people to just be self-aware in general from what I've noticed.
It is for me.
Yeah, so definitely Ichinojo fan. Big shout out to him for winning the last Basho too. You can't not like Teru Fuji, especially after the comeback story. There's really no Rikishi that I don't like, but again, I am biased towards the lighter guys. So if you're like under 300 pounds, I'm probably a fan.
I just have a couple that I'm just kind of like, ew.
Like Ryuden.
Yeah. You kind of jumped on the Ryuden diss
the
train.
Ryuden hate train.
I don't really know where that hate train came from. Actually, do you want to explain that to me? Or
honestly, it's just memetics. It just kind of there was like
I thought it was because he cheated on his wife.
Well, that definitely plays into it, the whole COVID protocol thing. But then it just as a joke just kind of piled on, and then it just turned into this whole fucking thing. Like it's just
like the Shodai thing. Now we have like
everyone calls him Lord Shodai.
Yeah, now we have like dozens and dozens of people like, oh, Lord Shodai, it's showing us the way of sumo, whatever.
They made little photoshops of him like wearing the little Pope's hat, kind of out in the crowd. It's so silly. I don't know. I just love it.
It's just fun to live in a fantasy. Really, that's all it really is.
Understandable for sure. I do like Shodai too, but
yeah, that's her boyfriend.
Good. As you should.
Nice.
Not me. It's Shodai. I'm just next.
I got more than one.
Her harem.
So I do want to ask you guys something that we ask everybody when
Go
we
for it.
Interviews, and it's actually a two-part question. First part is, what advice would you give to an individual who is just starting practicing sumo?
Micah, you wanna take off here? What do you got?
Sure. I would say don't.
Take your time.
And it might sound like I'm calling out some of our teammates, but I would say don't try and interject your previous martial arts. Obviously you're gonna bring your skills. That's what I did with judo. I got a few good throws and a few good trips with that, but try and learn sumo. Try and learn sumo and then add that to your other martial arts. And I really do think that's what like Will and Eli and whoever else did try and do. But and I think like Will said, he's like, at first I was like trying to figure out where Salat fit into sumo, and then he's kind of like it's very hard to fit that square peg into that round hole. So yeah, I would say just appreciate sumo for what it is. It's a sport of exploding, crashing into your opponent, going forward, and really only going back when you need to, and that's how I'd kind of sum up the skills and what you should try and focus on as a beginner.
One thing that every single new person does when they get into sumo is they try to reinvent the wheel using their previous experience. I'm not calling out anybody because I also did this when I first got into sumo. So, this is a self call out as well. But I feel like a lot of people, when they get into sumo, they try and say like, oh, I'm going to use this part from my martial art and bring it into sumo and that's going to work. And it's like, probably not going to work, my guy. And like I said, almost everybody does it. Or, you get people who have been in sumo for like 6 months and then they, talk about like, oh, I'm going to, find a better way to build, one of those mat dojos, or I'm going to find a better way to get mawashi. And it's like almost every single thing that you're coming up with, somebody else has already thought about 1,000 different times. And like, there's a reason that we do things the way that we do, And I'm not a traditionalist. There's a lot of traditional aspects of sumo training and like sumo technique and moveset that we don't ascribe to too much. Just because, I think that there are things that work and things that don't, and things that work at lightweight that don't work at heavyweight and vice versa. But when you're first getting into sumo, just focus on yourself, focus on your body positioning, especially because if you get into sumo and you just try to shove people out, like you're just going to get slapped down 9 times out of 10, unless you get that sumo specific footwork and movement down, and your body positioning and your techniques and all that stuff. So just focus on the absolute bread and butter fundamentals and try to learn as much as you can. And then kind of like what Micah was saying, is that once you get sumo, then you can kind of start to bring other things in and say like, okay, there's a gap here. What if I brought in X or Y or Z and put that in there and then kind of go from there,
Yeah, don't worry about finding your style or like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Your style will come about naturally just through you practicing the basics. We just had this conversation, but
you got to learn how to play the banjo before you can start writing songs.
Yeah, exactly. Before I can start copying you guys' song. Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the second half of my question. What advice would you guys give to someone who wants to start their own sumo club?
Ooh. It's not easy. I was very, very fortunate to find Micah. Because before then I had no one to train with. Competing from 2015 to 2018 without a training partner is not easy, believe it or not. So but we kind of talked about, that doubling earlier, where it's exponential, where you get one person and you get them hooked, and then they bring somebody else in, and then that, they bring somebody else in, and then it kind of chains from there. Mm-hmm. It takes time, and you just have to, not give up. There's a quote for this that is one of my quotes that I hold dear to my heart, which is the measure of a man is not his successes, but how he moves on from failure with zero loss of enthusiasm. And that's just what it's like starting out a sumo club, is that you're going to get, just weird looks from 100 different people before you finally lasso somebody and get them in and get them interested. Because then also once you have 2 or 3 people who are, in there competing, and it's not just like you in a parking lot somewhere, then it's also easier for other people to come in and say, okay, you have a club, you have people, you have competitors, and then they want to join that. It's not just like you trying to pull in one person with just yourself and just like, oh, sumo is really cool, you should try it out sometime. But that's my takeaway, is that it's not easy, but you just have to start, and you have to stick with it, and you just have to get sumo in front of as many people as you can, because one of the big things that I talk about in general is that sumo is a sport that sells itself, but people have to see it for that to happen, because people have so many different misconceptions about sumo, and they've never seen it. So when they actually see it, it's very eye-opening. But that's a challenge, is you have to find a way to get sumo in front of people.
Yes.
And then you can kind of change their mind, change their attitude, and get them to come try it out with a more open mind.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Micah, did you have any words on that?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what Gabe said, that, and that it's pretty profound coming from Gabe. I know he's fallen on some hard times in the last few years. I mean, we all have, but just several things he's gone through. It's just been like, man, it's rough. Like, some tough luck, but he's still really enthusiastic about his training and everything. So yeah, salute. But,
try to be. I appreciate it.
I let the COVID thing and the Japan lockouts kind of get to me and my whole the whole thing I was doing with Grand Sumo International, which, by the way, I'm kind of back and forth on whether I'm gonna, be able to get that back and running. But that's a whole other discussion for another day. But yeah, as far as advice, I would say I would give this advice to myself and our own club. And look at what the other clubs are doing. Dark Circle, especially Dallas, like they're always posting to every single group, posting fun. They got their own brand. The Dark Circle, they got the branding down. Dallas, you got the branding down. So the clubs that advertise more and show what they're doing more, you see them blow up. But obviously they're in bigger cities, so there's that advantage. But yeah, I would say just put yourselves out there consistently, videos, pictures,
get eyeballs
memes.
On it.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
kind of how I've gotten super annoying on social media, because that's all I ever post about is just sumo and dumb memes. That's just my whole deal.
I mean, I wish since starting this job that I could be more helpful in all this, especially with the tournament coming up. But it's just been pretty grueling. So it's hard to find time to sleep, and so sleeping during the night instead of during the day. I don't have an air conditioner in here yet. Hopefully soon. But yeah, it's been rough, but I love it. But yeah, I want to definitely prioritize sumo a little more if I can in the coming months. So
we'll hold each other to it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, guys. Did you guys have any last words? Any shout outs? Where can we find you on your social media? Where do you want people to find you?
Well, ideally, you come to Grand Rapids and you find us fighting on a clay dohyo
Drinking some
Enterprise.
beers.
Yeah,
that too.
Well, I mean, porque
Hell
no
yeah.
los dos.
Right.
We are Grand Rapids Sumo Club on Facebook and Instagram. Speaking of what Mike is saying, I'm going to start posting on Instagram more. I actually lost the password for that account for a bit, but we got it back, so we're good.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So Facebook, Instagram, just I think at GR Sumo or at Grand Rapids Sumo. Big shout out to City Built Brewing for hosting us. They make a lot of really good beers, so come out to Grand Rapids, try that beer. While fighting on a dohyo, maybe set the beer down first, but it's all the same.
Please set the beer down first.
Big shout out to Matt Shields, who came out to our tournament a couple months ago. Just walked on the dohyo for the first time and competed. No hesitation, no fear. Loved it. Went home and immediately started Chicago Sumo Club. Big shout out there. Big shout out to all the teams in the Midwest who are trying to come out to our tournament. We hope to see all of you there. We hope to see everybody there. I mean, really. And I think that's all the shout outs I have for now. Micah, you got anything?
Yeah, ideally you'll find me in Japan or the Philippines, but if not there, you can find me on Instagram at my name, Micah Hepler, Hepler. And if you want to, you can go follow Grand Sumo International, my social media pages, subscribe to the YouTube channel and all that. That may or may not come back in the near or distant future.
We hope to see
Hell yeah.
I do too. We just got to find a way to fit it in. And then me and another one of my martial arts friends, Grant, we have a podcast called That's Tough Martial Arts Show.
Which you still need to get me on there. Just
well, we haven't done an episode in many months, so but we're talking about getting another one going. So yeah, that's definitely something we want to do. And so yeah, just follow us on that as well. We're on the social medias. So
awesome.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you guys so much. And sorry, it's just been like a freaking whirlwind the last couple of weeks, but I appreciate y'all hanging in there with this.
Glad everything worked out, man.
Yeah, and we can't wait to see the tournament in October. We're definitely going to be keeping an eye out for. Are you guys going to have any sort of live stream or anything for that?
Actually, yes. So some of the guys from Grand Sumo Breakdown are making the drive out to live stream the tournament.
Yeah, I think I remember Jake saying something about that. We will definitely be watching it because we are super interested, especially in that clay dohyo.
Oh, hell yeah. We're going to be heckling Jake like on the chat the whole
time.
time.
Oh, yeah. You're going to see us in the chat. We're going to be like, talking about
That's what it's there for, right?
Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for getting together with us today. And we wish you well. Have a great time at your tournament.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, rock on. See ya.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Man, I'm so glad we got to get together with those guys and kind of listen to their whole backstory and listen to all the details about the tournament that they're putting on up there in Michigan.
It's kind of like all of us, in, sumo in the US, we're all kind of like, we all have like our regional factions, or if you look at it like our regional, like fucking, like our clans, we all just have our different like sumo clans. And so we like all hear the stories and the lore, of all the other clans and the battles that they fought in the far frozen norths of Michigan.
It's
or
like the Fire Nation and the Water Nation. I don't know if it's like that.
Yeah, we're all different sumo nations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've read too many fantasy novels, but whatever.
But, I do think that, I think it was Gabe who said it. He made a very, very good point about the way that judging is done at amateur tournaments in the U.S. And I think, you can't necessarily have dedicated judges if it's just a small operation. It's your first tournament, maybe, that you've hosted. It's going to take a little bit of time for people to build up the experience of organizing something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a lot of what we're seeing is that because amateur sumo in the US is just now starting to get a bit bigger, just now really experiencing a growth spurt, people have to kind of figure it out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's before there was out of necessity, people that were competitors would have to do things like be a ringside judge. And in some cases, I've heard of tournaments where they were like maybe just one or two ringside judges, or they would just, have to use a camera. But now that there's getting to be a bigger population, and sometimes there's going to be people sitting out due to injury, or, maybe they, I just can't, do sumo anymore, but I still want to be involved. I think, as time goes by, there's going to be more and more people that are still want to be involved in sumo that might not be fighting.
And that's what we saw at the Consulates Cup, too, because I know a couple of the people who were judging at that event had injuries that made it to where they couldn't compete, so instead they stepped in as judges.
Yeah, like Paul from Shogeki, and then there was Sean from Dallas Sumo Club as well.
Yeah.
So I really do think that, dedicated staff is going to be more of a thing, and I think people that are organized these tournaments are going to be more and more willing to delegate, so to make it like more of like a whole operation. And that was what I really liked about the Cowboy Cup is like, everybody participated and everybody helped with the whole organization, and it all ran like a well-oiled machine.
For that being like the first year that Dallas Sumo Club had hosted a tournament, that was actually a pretty well-run
It really was.
tournament.
And the Consulates Cup was really well-run.
Oh, fuck yeah, it was. Fuck yeah.
So I think like the more experience that we all get with, putting on these tournaments and, organizing and delegating and, figuring out how to, because we're all doing this together. It's our community.
Pains.
Yeah.
It's just growing pains. And as time goes along, everything is going to get more organized and less chaotic. But, that is a very fair point. We do need to have better options for judges at amateur tournaments, and not just be like, oh, hey, can you judge this match? No, sorry, I'm busy warming up for my match.
Yeah.
But it happens, you can't predict everything that's
not to say that that's a totally terrible bad thing. If that has to happen, if that's all you have for your resources, fine, that's okay. If you have a smaller sumo tournament with fewer participants, that's fine. You're still fucking putting on a tournament. You're still bringing sumo to the people.
And it's like Dakota said in the last episode, if it's not fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't say those exact words, but that's essentially what it is. Just remember, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't necessarily have to be this very well-oiled machine, like super organized or whatever. Sometimes you just gotta learn to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Well, that's our episode. We're gonna say the things we always say at the end of an episode now. You can find us all over them social medias. It's Sumo Punx spelled with an X.
Except on Twitter, where we are at Punk Sumo.
Because I fucked up the Twitter.
Because you fucked up the Twitter, but that's okay.
We have a Redbubble shop where you can go purchase t-shirts or stickers or mouse pads or cinnamon scented anal beads with our design.
Oh
no,
God.
Maybe not that. I don't think they have those. Ooh, could you imagine like anal beads with cinnamon? That might sting.
No, I was about to say that would fucking burn.
But I digress. And, you know, feel free to give us a rating. I know that a lot of the podcast platforms do have a way for you to rate the podcast. So if you like us, and only if you like us, go ahead and give us 5 stars.
All right. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.